Hello and welcome to Wisdom Trek. This is Guthrie Chamberlain, and I'm your guide to wisdom and creating a living legacy. Thank you for joining us for our 7-day-a-week, 7 Minutes of Wisdom podcast. This is day 256 of our trek, and this will be our last day in camp for a while as we search for the nuggets of wisdom found in the book of Proverbs Chapter 9, verses 13 through 18. Yesterday we explored Chapter 9, verses 7 through 12, where Solomon presented the closing arguments for the woman Wisdom in her court hearing before the city gates. Since each day's trek does build on the previous one, if you do miss any of the Wisdom Trek episodes, please go to wisdom-trek.com to listen to them and to read the daily journal. We are recording our podcast from our studios at home too in Charlotte, North Carolina. Our travels on Thursday of this week will take us to Atlanta, where we will drop Paula's mom off at her sister's place, and then we will fly on to Pheonix and spend 4 days working with our construction project in Mesa. It is in the very capable hands of our friends and partners Charles and Alison Mecom, but it is good to get close to the project every few months. We will be back in Charlotte for part of next week before heading to the big house in Marietta on the 19th of this month. It is an exciting season of life, but challenging and tiring at times, I must admit. I don't think that we will suffer from boredom anytime soon. For today, we will spend one final day in camp around the campfire. Let's make some s'mores and listen to the final portion of the third of the 3 great poems written by King Solomon. We will be transported back in time for one additional day as we complete the exploration of Proverbs Chapter 9. Let us imagine ourselves once again outside the city gates of Jerusalem. Today we have the opposing counsel who is calling for a hearing. This lawyer is Folly. She will present a short testimony called Folly Calls for a Hearing. We find out that Folly has a house high on the city walls, and she is shouting her testimony from there, attempting to capture the simple and foolish people coming into the city. Let's go ahead and read Proverbs Chapter 9, verses 13 through 18. The woman named Folly is brash. She is ignorant and doesn't know it. She sits in the doorway, on the heights overlooking the city. She calls out to the men going by who are minding their own business. "Come in with me," she urges the simple. Those who lack good judgment, she says, "Stolen water is refreshing. Food eaten in secret is the best." But little do they know that the dead are there. Her guests are in the depths of the grave. In verse 13, we see the opposing counsel is a lawyer called Folly. She is a crude and brash person. Unlike Wisdom, who is well-mannered and peaceful. As with many arrogant people, she is also ignorant but oblivious to this fact. As we move on to verse 14, we remember that the woman Wisdom had prepared a fine meal for her guest. Wisdom even built a splendid house for them, which had 7 columns that represented Wisdom's attributes. But the lawyer Folly is lazy. Folly does none of these things. She doesn't even stand up to invite her guest in. We find her sitting in the doorway, which was built high on the wall of the city. Calling from the high places was common, but sitting while making the proclamation showed disrespect. The message of the 2 lawyers both come from the highest places in the city, so everyone will hear both messages. Nobody will miss them. Everyone will receive both invitations. But we cannot accept both invitations. We must choose. Either we will follow Wisdom or Folly. In verse 15, she is tempting those who are going about the business of life. And just like the Wisdom Trek podcast, Solomon compares life to a trek that we take as part of our everyday life. We need to understand that our service to God is doing what we do every day and doing it well, no matter how mundane or insignificant that might seem. Living our life for God is never mundane. We must not be tempted away from doing what God has given us to do. But Folly wants to destroy our lives. In verse 16, the lawyer Folly calls the simple people and those who lack good judgment. The foolish people have already joined Folly, so she doesn't need to call to them. The simple people have not yet decided. The woman Folly tries to persuade them. She wants to tempt them from the path of living faithfully each day. In verse 17, Folly also offers a meal to her guest. However, her meal does not belong to her. She stole the water, and the food must be eaten in secret. What Folly is actually referring to here is having a meal of unfaithfulness. This could be unfaithfulness in marriage, in the workplace, to a friend, or in business. Any unfaithfulness in our lives is also unfaithfulness to God. The woman tempts the simple man with evil ideas. Solomon is thinking about all the evil things and not just unfaithfulness here. If we are foolish, then we will choose to do evil things. We will refuse to be wise, and we will also refuse to follow God. Evil actions might feel good. Evil actions might even feel wonderful. But these are only feelings and not reality. The reality is that evil behavior is always wrong. The reality is evil behavior will destroy us. The reality is that God hates the evil things. The final verse is 18. Those who feast at the banquet that the lawyer Folly has prepared will never leave that banquet, but it's not their own choice. In comparison, the lawyer Wisdom held a banquet that will bring a rich and satisfying life for all eternity. Her food gives life. The lawyer Folly has prepared a banquet that will bring death. Her food is poisonous. Her guests are in the depths of the grave. We all have a choice. We can believe the testimony of the lawyer Wisdom and have life eternal, or we can believe the testimony of the lawyer Folly and have death eternal. God wants all of us to learn to be wise. So what is your choice? This has been a great time of learning around the campfire for the past 11 days. Tomorrow we will be back on the trails to start a new trek, so encourage your family and friends to join us and then come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. That will finish our podcast for today. As you enjoy these daily doses of wisdom, I do encourage you to help us to promote Wisdom Trek in the following 4 ways. First, leave us feedback about the podcast at wisdom-trek.com so that we can continually improve. Second, on your smartphone, subscribe to iTunes, Google Play, Spreaker, SoundCloud, or Stitcher so that the podcast will be downloaded to you automatically each day. Third, on your computer, or if you have an iPhone or iPad, leave us a rating or review at iTunes. This will help to spread the news about Wisdom Trek so that others can join us. And fourth, but most importantly, please share Wisdom Trek with your family and friends through email, Facebook, Twitter, or in person as you meet with them, and invite them to come along with us each day. The journal for today's trek can be found at wisdom-trek.com. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, but most importantly, you are my friend, as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal each day. As we take this trek together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. This is Guthrie Chamberlain reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and then create a great day every day. See you tomorrow.